Good evening, everybody. I'm Fictional Crystals, and let's talk about Shiro, Keith, and Lance's leadership. Shiro has been missing since Season 2 of Voltron Legendary Defender, after the Paladins' big end-of-season battle with Zarkon. That battle marked the first time the Paladins made the sword blaze, and the last time we've seen the blaze in an episode since, excluding this teaser for Season 6. And this episode is also the last time Shiro has been with the team in person. The Shiro on the team piloting the Black Lion right now is who we refer to as Kuron. He's a clone created by Hagar for the purpose of being able to spy on the Paladins and Lothar specifically. Kuron has been acting up more and more recently as Hagar gains more and more control over him. He doesn't realize that he is a clone, but he does feel like he's not himself. Kuron has lashed out to the team as a whole, but Lance and Keith are the ones who have been focused on most prominently. The Paladins of New, as I'll call them, parallel the Paladins of Old. It corresponds with their lions. Trigal and Pidge in green, Gurgen and Hunk in yellow, Blates and Lance in blue, Zarkon and Shiro/Kuron in black, and Alfor and Keith, but also Lance in red. The Paladins of Old mirror the Paladins from the present. They drew these parallels so much in The Legend Begins. Real SHIRO'S somewhat paralleled Zarkon in his younger years. A good leader, friends with his team, strict but with a soft, more humorous side. Zarkon, after his obsession with the Rift and Quintessence crew, relates more to Kuron. The two have direct parallels. They lash out much more. They forget about their team's wishes and ignore their advice to do what they want. They brush off their right-hand men. Lance and Keith are the right-hand men that fill King Alfor's shoes. You've got parallels such as they're the Red Paladins. They've all got swords. Lance and Alfor both have Altan broadswords. Keith and Alfor both rush into things. Lance and Alfor both put their own needs aside for the team and to let someone else lead the team.
You value a strong team over your own need for glory. Just like my father.
Then there's visible parallels between Lance and Keith. And Lance/Keith and Kuron mirror Alfor and Zarkon precisely in these shots. Lance has been in contact with the real Shiro through the astral plane. Kuron told him how he was feeling. Lance is going to be figuring out what's going on with the real Shiro and Kuron. The rest of the team will find out because of him. They've already noticed how off the Shiro is. Where Alfor failed to take down Zarkon, Lance will succeed with Kuron. Keith is going to find out too. He's the closest to Shiro, he deserves to know. And they'll need another Paladin if Kuron is no longer one in the upcoming season, which Keith can be useful for. Thanks to Krolia being there with him, a void that has been in him since she left will be filled.
I'm naturally untrusting because my mom left me?
Krolia can give him the added confidence he needs to be a better asset to the team than he was before he left. Lance will inform him of what's going on, and just like they did in episode 1, it'll be another quest to save Shiro.
No, you don't. I'm saving Shiro.
I'm gonna find him.
The two Alfor parallels, Lance and Keith, will take down the Zarkon parallel, Kuron. They'll succeed where Alfor failed. Lothar too, probably, judging by his track record for wanting to kill all those that are Hagar's puppets.
Stop sending your cronies after me.
Foreshadowing. It's a torn off right robot arm just like Shiro's. Where did the real Shiro go though? Or rather, why did he go? Why did the Black Lion make him vanish? Shiro was shocked badly at the end of Season 2. He had gone through so much. So many direct hits and mental distress from Zarkon fighting for power over Black. Shiro could have very well have died if he took any more damage in the season final. In order to save him, the Black Lion might have teleported him away to avoid any more damage.
Could it have teleported you? Maybe it was trying to save you.
Then there's another option Keith suggested.
Maybe Zarkon forced it to.
Zarkon fought for control until the end of the fight. Shiro's bond to Black was better than Zarkon, but Zarkon still put up a fight. He may have had enough control to get Black to send Shiro away. Kuron doesn't have the same quintessence as the real Shiro, the same life force.
The quintessence of the pilot is mirrored in his lion.
It's why the Black Lion was so hesitant on letting him pilot it. One more option for why Shiro might have disappeared is this. According to Allura, a Bayard amplifies a Paladin's life force.
The Bayards! They amplify each Paladin's life force!
When the Paladins used theirs all together in Season 5, they were all transported into the astral plane, except for Kuron, but we know that's cause he's a clone, not the real Shiro. Maybe Shiro's life force and tie to the Black Lion was enhanced by his Bayard at the end of Season 2, so Black transported him into the astral plane shortly after. However, this doesn't exactly explain why his physical body went. Black knows this isn't the real Shiro. Black only let him pilot it because the team needed him. When he was determined to be there for his team, that's when he felt like the real real Shiro. Black still has a connection with the real Shiro. When a paladin has a strong enough bond with their lion, they can communicate with each other over vast distances. Zarkon and Black did it, Keith and Red did it. Shiro's bond with Black is stronger than any of the other current paladins with their lions. This gives him the ability to enter the astral plane despite not being in his lion as Zarkon did before. People joke about Shiro wanting to die, but he has so much will to live.
It takes more than a glowing alien wound, a fall from the upper atmosphere, and crashing into a hard-pan surface at what I'm guessing is about 25 meters per second squared to get rid of me.
He fights for survival constantly, and he's still doing it. That's one thing he and Kuron have in common. He's been separated from the team for months and months, and he hasn't given up. But why did he choose Lance to talk to in the astral plane? Surely it'd be more sensible to talk to Allura. Well, Lance was the last one to leave the astral plane, but I don't think that's why he chose Lance. At least not entirely. Josh Keaton, Shiro's voice actor, headcanons that Shiro used to be like Lance when he was younger. I agree with that. It makes sense. Shiro sees his old self in Lance, the fun-loving goofball who just wants to succeed.
More like blam, blam, blam.
They both can put on a smile and be a strong leader even when faced with their own inner demons and doubts. They try not to let their feelings affect the rest of the team.
This is war, and you want your best soldiers on the front lines.
They put their own needs aside to help others. They give good advice. They don't want to bring others down with them.
Maybe the best thing I can do for the team is step aside.
They'd gladly give themselves up to let others live. Lance has always looked up to Shiro, and now he's becoming his hero.
That guy's my hero!
Shiro knows that Lance has great potential, and he's been able to witness his evolution into more of a leader.
What we've all been noticing. You have greatness within.
I don't think Shiro has noticed.
Yes, Shiro has noticed Lance. Remember in episode 2, the paladins were training with their lions. Shiro was the only one to get the hang of a training exercise they had when they had to see through their lion's eyes. Shiro can feel what Black feels, and vice versa. Shiro's tie to Black is so strong that he can contact Black even when far away. Keith could do this with Red, and Zarkon could do this with Black, without being inside the lion. Shiro can do the same, unless his mind literally ended up inside the lion. That actually makes some kind of sense, but carrying on. Shiro's abilities with Black have come in useful now. Shiro's been able to get an idea of what's going on with the team thanks to Black. He doesn't know the full details, but he does have somewhat of an idea. Lance really stepped up and took more of a leadership role. He's trying to fill a void Keith left and handle Kuron. He's been giving orders and advice. Even if it wasn't for the Black Lion, Shiro knows, or will find out very soon, that Lance can lead the team to do what's right. From a lovable goofball as he once was, to a more dutiful, lovable goofball. I also believe Shiro was able to see himself in Keith. There have been parallels between Lance and Keith, Lance and Shiro, so why not Shiro and Keith? Keith and Shiro both have a bit of a short temper. The two of them and Lance all hate Iverson. Shiro met Keith when he was much younger. He saw somebody with ambition, great piloting skills as he has. Keith was simply never given the opportunity to succeed. Everyone treated him as a delinquent. Shiro gave him that opportunity to succeed. He gave him a chance. He broke down his walls.
Shiro is the one person who never gave up on me.
He became the family he never had, aside from the fact that Shiro was able to see that Keith could pilot Black. Shiro wanted Keith to be his successor as the Black Paladin to allow him to grow as he once did, although he was insecure with the role. With Krolia's help, he'll be able to feel more confident about his leadership skills. I'm super open to Black Paladin Lance as well. I believe part of the reason Black was determined on letting Keith pilot it, despite him not being ready at the time, was due to what Shiro wanted. In Season 3, even after he disappeared, Black still had that tie to him. Keith definitely has the potential to become a better leader in the future. He did definitely improve throughout Season 3. Black did see something in him, but part of the reason Black let him pilot it was because of Shiro. When Black first let him pilot it, it was to save Shiro. When Black responded to him in Season 3, he was thinking of Shiro.
I know you wanted this from me, Shiro.
Black didn't let Kuron pilot it at first. It was only after Kuron had the drive of the real Shiro that Black responded.
Trust me again.
As Lance grows as a leader and Shiro sees this, maybe since Shiro is more open to Black Paladin Lance, so will the Black Lion. I stated earlier that Lance is going to be dealing more with Kuron. Hagar's been using Kuron to see through, but as more stages of the operation get carried out, the more control she'll have over him. He's already been acting up. With Losha's distaste to Hagar, it won't be too hard for the team to figure out this isn't the real Shiro. What What'll be harder is figuring out where the real Shiro is and what happened to him. Lance is likely to revisit the astral plane. Obviously, Lance and the rest of the team can enter the astral plane through their lions. I think real Shiro will give Lance some help to find him. Perhaps with the Black Lion's help, Shiro could project into Lance's mind, or Lance's dreams of Shiro. Kimberly Brooks, Allora's voice actress, accidentally spoiled that there's an episode where the team sleeps for ages. This might be because their minds have gone into the astral plane. In a teaser for season 6, Voltron used the blazing sword. If Keith isn't the one to form the sword, then it's going to be Lance. Lance and Keith both have potential to be great leaders, and Shiro's seen or will see that in both of them. Lance and Keith both have insecurities. Shiro helped Keith out with these a lot. He gave Keith words of advice that he once had to learn, and he's happy to know it stuck with him. And as I've already said, Krolia is going to be a big help in Keith getting past his insecurities. Lance, however, has felt isolated, further away from the rest of the team. He's been trying to fill Keith's shoes. He's been pushed aside by Kuron. Allora's been busy doing things with Flotor. Pidge and Hunk have also been busy with each other. They left him out of their team punk thing even though he was right there. And Kuron's been doing whatever Kurans do. Lance feels ignored. He doesn't think he's necessary for the team, and he hasn't for a while. Everyone else specializes in something, but he doesn't. He's not extremely good in one thing alone. In my opinion, that's a good thing. He's versatile. He can take on any role. He can be mature, depending on what the situation needs. The team actually does recognize this, but Shiro's the validation Lance needs. And Keith as well. Lance thinks Shiro and Keith don't care about him. Lance really admires both of them, though he doesn't want to admit it with Keith. It's not hard to tell that Lance does miss Keith. Of course, there is what Jeremy Shader, Lance's voice actor, said on the topic, but you can also tell by the way Lance acts on the show itself. Every expression on the show is drawn for a reason.
If we know that a character, is feeling something about that moment, especially if we know that there's something coming up down the line that maybe hasn't been revealed, but that it would make that character feel a certain way, we try to insert in there and not do it.
Lance kept asking where Keith was in the first episode of season 4. He acted like he was annoyed at Keith for being late and missing the shows. Except his expressions say otherwise. He was concerned. He had a pained smile when Keith left. The lines under his eyes mean he wasn't feeling the best. Unlocking a sword with the red beard shocked him. He put Shiro and Keith on a high pedestal. He wants to be seen as equal by them.
Don't follow in his footsteps.
But he doesn't know how they already view him. Keith couldn't have made it as far as he did in season 3 without Lance's help. Keith's never hated him. The rivalry was one-sided. Keith simply played along. Lance has never truly despised Keith either. He wanted to be like him. Lance is Keith's stability. Keith and Lance aren't as different as Lance thinks they are. They've both got stuff to learn. They both have walls to let down. And I've already discussed what Shiro thinks of Lance. He knows Lance is maturing, as he once had to do.
Nope. Not doing that.
Because Keith's returning to Team Voltron quite soon as a Paladin, like it was hinted at in this Netflix thumbnail, and since Lance is figuring out what happened to the real Shiro, a void in Lance will be filled. They can give him more of the confidence he needs. They'll tell him not what he expects to be told, but what he needs to be told, just like Krolia is hopefully going to be doing with Keith. For Lance, it's a journey of self-worth, discovering himself and humbling himself. There are always going to be people that are better than him at things, but that doesn't make him any less worthy. He's already started his journey. He's been on it since season 1, and you can tell. Lance's story will continue with both Shiro and Keith here too. These three with open eyes. This picture, Lord Montgomery, the show's co-executive producer, drew years ago, hinted that Lance would be having an arc with Shiro. Pidge and Allora are holding the first sign. They had their moment in season 1. This picture was drawn before season 2's release. Hunk and Keith with the second sign had their moment in season 2. Now it's Shiro and Lance's turn. Although Lance doesn't have his blood-related family at the moment, his found family is there for him. Same goes for Keith, whose character arc is about connection. But anyway, thanks for watching and stay hyped for season 6.
Nice, Lance. That's why we bring our sharpshooter.
Yup.